Thank you, Deborah. Thank you. And thank you all for being here this evening. I don't take the sharing of time lightly. It's precious, and we never get it back, and so we're really grateful. Myself and my beautiful team, and you'll get to know them through the course of the evening. But I first and foremost want to applaud you as parents for taking the initiative to think about the future of your kids through this incredible organization, Parents Challenge. And as Deborah said, the Conservatory has been around for 26 years, so I've known Deborah for probably a little over 2 decades now. And when we started our program, our partner program with Harrison School District, I always said I was eternally grateful that Deborah Hendricks was the board chair, because she fought really hard. And I'm really proud to tell you, this is not on my agenda to shout from the mountains, but the initiative that Deborah Hendricks started, partner program where students from now Centennial, Monterey, and Panorama come to the Conservatory at 7 o'clock in the morning. We show, this is 18 years ago, we show that 99% of those kids that are in that partner program graduate high school. So Deborah Hendricks, thank you very much for all that you do for the students of this community. I just want to first give a shout out to my teammate Heather Steinman is here. She's the COO of the Colorado Springs Conservatory, and she'll be able to answer any questions as well after our presentation. We do have a little bit of performing and a little bit of video, and I have some of my collective conservatory team. David Musante is an alumni and a mentor now. He's been here since he was 3. So an amazing jazz guitarist, and you'll hear him later. But you'll get to know these kiddos and what we do. But first I want to make sure that everyone got one of these as you walked in. And they're a little tad bit dated, but we thought, what the heck? We're going to let you walk out with these so that you have an idea and that you're inspired, hopefully, to come and visit us. But in the back, I'll be referencing some of these documents. And so I first and foremost want to thank Erin for being my cheerleader. Erin, is there anything you want to add for this program? Okay, you good? You good? What do you want to say? He's like, I just want to eat it. We actually do have programs at the Conservatory in our Piccolo program for birth to 3, and we'll talk about that later. But again, thank you, and I'm just going to dive right in. How many of you know what the Colorado Springs Conservatory is or does? And if you don't, that's okay, because we still get calls after 26 years that say, when is the next stargazing episode, or when is the next gardening class? A conservatory is a one-stop shop for college preparatory arts immersion studies. So what does that mean? That means that a child that walks in the door studies an instrument, like the trumpet, and also gets a complete curriculum. So they study music theory, they study piano, they study performance, they study composition, they study recording arts. Then they involve themselves in ensembles like you heard this morning or this evening or whatever day it is, I don't know. Jazz or musical theater or theater. But the concept, folks, is not that a 30-minute lesson an artist makes. But when you walk into the conservatory, it is a whole experience. Not just curricular, but as you'll see, we serve kids from a 100-mile radius. So these kiddos have friends from Rush, Colorado, all the way up to Florissant, up to Parker, maybe down to Pueblo certain semesters. So you can imagine, and these kids stay friends for life. Our first graduating class now is 40. That's crazy, isn't it? So it is all inclusive. And so the pedagogy is very, very fundamental, but what we do is we try to stay very relevant. Very relevant. So who are we to say that a kid's going to understand Schubert or Beethoven if we don't know what they're listening to today? So myself, my leadership team, and the 70 plus mentors, 70, all allow these kids to understand what their creative essence is. And we are a non-auditioned program. And so if you think about the fact that this place isn't for everybody, but 99% of the kids that walk through the door, you can tell they get a little weak in the knees and they like, I think I found my people, right guys? Right? Yeah. And they stay friends for a long time. Age doesn't matter. Very diverse, very inclusive. And if you consider that we're a non-audition program, and for 26 years, we've graduated out of the after-school program 100% of the students to the colleges, conservatories, universities that they choose and audition to go to. Now, many of them don't want to go into the arts. Many of them turn to us and say, I want to study environmental science, I want to be a senator, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer. And our job is to continue to guide them toward those goals. The vehicle is the conservatory, because of their rigor and because of what they're involved in, and we'll learn more about that, they become very aware and very confident in who they are. Because we do so much community outreach, they understand their community. So a lot of times we'll do something, say, for UC Health or Penrose St. Francis, and we get a kid that turns to us and says, I want to go into music therapy. We don't know. Our job is to continually put you in front of the community so that you can better understand your place in that community. So, and forgive me for doing this because normally I can just talk on and on. We was founded in 1994. We presently serve 1,000 kids. 1,000 kids. So imagine what your student body looks like. From Santi's age, right there, 2 months, Aaron, all the way up to 18. We have 75 plus mentors. We offer programs 6 days a week. I have 11 team and admin and development. We have consistent non-auditioned outcomes that I just shared with you, 100-mile radius, 300 plus community outreach performances a year. It's really hard for a kid to get in trouble when they're a conservatory student because they're really busy, right? Right? Right, David? What do I always say? Keeping them busy, keeping them out of jail. All right, so, but that's great. I mean, tonight, you know, actually there was one young man, Cole, senior at Air Academy, at Coronado, that's right, and in the middle of his auditions, and we called him, 2 hours ago, because we had another young man who couldn't make it. So Cole drove all the way down from the north side of town to be at this event, to perform, and to learn, right? Because at the end of the day, they're all still learning about their community. We have a beautiful facility, and there's pictures of it in this package. At Saguache and Cimarron. We're right now in the middle of all of the stadium and the Olympic Museum, so we're a little tricky to get to. Heather will attest to that. But you can still get to us. So that's where we are, that's who we are. Now I'd like to get into the programs. I like to say we work in 3 swim lanes. And if you can just bear with me for a moment. The first swim lane is called our partner programs. And that was the program I was speaking about with Miss Deborah. And we literally started those 19 years ago with Head Start and Harrison School District, where God bless Mike Miles said, I can't do everything I need to do for these kids. And I just assume put them on a bus and send them to you, and you help us create an arts curriculum that's going to speak to these kids. Because we don't offer band, choir, and orchestra. This is about as large an ensemble as we get. And the reason for that is because this is real life. When a kid signs up for the conservatory and you want to be a musician, you're probably going to be working in trios, quartets, quintets. Very rarely you're going to be working in bands of 40 or 50. And it's not that work in their school with that large of an ensemble is not valid. It most certainly is. But to give a kid an opportunity to work in smaller groups and really learn those skills trust me, as parents, when they go away to college and they say, hey, Mom, I got a trio. We're playing 3 gigs a week. I'm making $150 a week. That's a big deal. That's a really big deal. And I will tell you, there's a young man who was a graduate of Harrison High School who, when he started in the partner program, his name was Jeremiah Ferguson. And he never strayed. I want to be a nuclear physicist and I want to go to School of Mines. I was like, all right, Jeremiah. And so we went on this journey. We tried everything. He came during the day in the partner program. After school, he tried singing. He tried theater. He tried guitar. Finally, we put a bass in his hand and it clicked. And he turned out to be a really good jazz bassist. And I'm really proud to say he's in his senior year now at School of Mines, studying exactly what he wanted to study. And I think one of the most exciting moments was when he called his first semester and said, Miss Linda, I started a quartet and we're gigging all over town. I was like, well, that's great, Jeremiah, because they know that life skill. They know how to walk into a situation and create the experience or the circumstance that they hope to provide for themselves, which is, as we know as parents, is really important, right? So the partner programs currently come 5 days a week for a variety of times, but we do start at 7:15. A bus comes from Panorama Middle School, full of kids from Centennial and Monterey and Panorama. They come 4 mornings a week. And thanks to the superintendents over the years, they all have one discipline. So you can imagine a kid who might want to play the piano, and you're going to meet one of them in a little bit, never had a piano lesson. Suddenly he has 4 piano classes a week. They get really good really fast. And you'll hear from Gabriel in a little bit because Gabriel's one of those kiddos. We also have partner programs with District 8, District 11, Mountain Vista Homeschool Academy, Falcon, District 49, and Head Start. And we're about to expand into Early Head Start as well. So that's our partner programs. 5 days a week, depending on what school you go to, little buses. Oh, and Caperni comes during the day, twice a day. That's a new charter school over at the Citadel Mall, if you're not aware of that. So that's our partner programs. We also have programs that we call our community programs. And right now, they consist of a program we call Citizen Soldier Connection. And we serve all 5 military installations. And what we thought 7 years ago when we started the program would be retired and enlisted veterans has now become a very robust family experience. We have moms calling saying, my husband's about to come home, he's been deployed 3 times, my son and he are not getting along at all, can my son come, can they take singer-songwriter together? And 8 weeks later, they're best friends and they're writing songs together. So it's become much more than what we had anticipated. And that's, I think, the beauty of the Conservatory. We've always been relevant, we've always been flexible, and I would say that's attributed to my team and the incredible mentors. You know, we could get a lot of very stuffy classical musicians, and we've tried some of those on. We have a lot of brilliant classical musicians, but they love the fact that they can be vital and relevant and creative and give back. So that's one of the community programs. The other community program is called the Piccolo program. And that's our birth to 3. Now you might go, well, so what is that about? Well, we've been doing this program for a long time, and most recently we brought on an early childhood and special education subject matter expert to help us really harness what's happening in those classes. And I'm really pleased to say that because of the combination of these storybooks and the music that goes along with them, we're showing some really strong signs of early intervention as it relates to literacy. The fun part about that is that we teach the moms to play the ukulele, or the dads, and so we have this incredible bonding thing that goes on as well. And we have, even with the tiny, tiny ones, they're already wanting to hold the ukulele and have the experience with their kids or with their moms. So we have a lot of moms that have said this has changed the dynamic at home. We would much rather sit around and play the ukulele and sing our songs. And there's a lot of transition songs. So there's a cleanup song. There's a, you know, where are we going next? When I look up, I see what. So you're teaching not only the music, but that ability to comprehend and dissect, so that when they get to their SCAPs and all these other tests that they end up taking, they're going to be a little bit ahead of the game because they've had this experience. So those are our two community programs, and we do have a partner program with Head Start, and we're looking at expanding that to early Head Start. How many of you have Head Start kiddos? Yeah? Yeah, oh, you do? Aw, thanks for all your hard work.
I did the conservatory last year.
You did?
Yeah, I did the conservatory last year, and even me and my teacher, we actually still sing the songs with our new kids that we learned last year.
Well, thank you. And Noreen is wanting us to have teacher training in January. Yeah, so that more teachers can learn. So, yeah, that's exciting. Thank you. That's so nice. Well, great. What's your name?
Cherise.
Cherise is open for questions over here, okay, if you have any questions about her experience. So the community programs are very robust, and again, we serve about a 100-mile radius. That's word of mouth. The last and most rigorous program, and the kids that you'll hear today are in, is called our Core After School program. And if you look in this brochure here, all of these programs are laid out for you. And it shows you that starting in tiny tremolos, so when they're 4, they come out of that piccolo program and they go into their tiny tremolo. And what we try to do is incorporate, again, a lot of music education, but what we're finding and what we're learning, and you'll see by the end of this presentation, is that a lot of the work that we do, we call it upstream. So, like your reaction to us keeping them busy, like that's upstream, right? It's really hard to get a 17-year-old who hasn't grown up in this environment to understand you're going to the Southeast Y, and we're going to play, and we're going to learn about Parents Challenge, and you're going to hang out. If they start when they're 3, it's really easy. So they develop work ethic, they develop self-discipline, they have a great group of peers that are friends for life. So when you look at the Core After School program, that runs 5 afternoons a week, and depending on the program, and you'll see it hopefully in the brochure, and again, if you have any questions, let Heather and I know. Depending on how old you are, and depending on what your schedule will permit, or say it's transportation, or grandma can only get her there on Wednesdays and Thursdays, we try to create the curriculum so that it works for all the students. So again, you can study any instrument, you can study voice, you can study recording arts, you can study percussion, and then you get that whole curriculum that goes along with it. So the average class time that a young person is there, let's say from 7 on up, is around 2.5 hours a week. Now there's practice at home and things that we would ask that you participate in, outreaches and recitals and all of that. But that's the commitment that you start with. Now some of these kids show up 5 days a week after school, especially when they start driving. But as a parent, how nice is it to know that your kid is at the conservatory after school? You can have your dinner there, there's a student lounge, they do their homework there, they practice there, and they're hanging out with good kids, and they've got mentors and a culture of people that care. That's our after school program. So you've got partner programs, community programs, and our core after school programs. And so again, if you have any questions on any of those, I would just ask that you reach out to both Heather and I or David. Now, what I'd like to do is show you a little video. Can we hit the lights maybe? Now this video, I think Miss Deborah is actually in this video. Woohoo! She's doing a little Aerosmith. You guys didn't know she's a guitar player. So this
felt really lonely. And now at the conservatory, I just feel like, I always have something going on. Now that we live in Colorado, I'm away from my family. But I feel like I have a big family right here.
I was in a car wreck in 2007, which caused my traumatic brain injury. I was living out in California, and I thought that I was going to be a rock star,
My son Dominic was a student here for, I'd say, over 2 years now. Before he passed away, this is the only place that made him happy. This is where he chose to be. Making music and continuing to do this was his passion, and the only thing that would break the depression that he suffered after the loss of his mother.
Every child that walks through this door has what we know, an essence. So many kids are walking around not even knowing. And that's the tragedy. And that's why I've come to believe that this place is so important, that there's so many young people that are so disoriented, but every single one of them has that essence.
I can remember when I dropped her off the very first day, she was very timid, very shy about coming here. And the minute she came through that door, it changed.
Children are 25% of our population, but they are 100% of our future.
This is a big deal about trust. When we give our baby birds to you, we know that the conservatory is going to soften the blow. You're caring for them, not just whether they complete the show and they sing well or they have an instrument, they're playing an instrument, but you're teaching them to be great human beings.
You can find a lot of places that will teach music and teach theater, but there are not a lot of places in this city or in the world that teach essence. Teaching kids to be courageously authentic through that journey of falling and rising.
It's like you walk across the threshold of the door, and there is no handicap, there is no disability. You are free.
These kids find a place to belong.
My son's battle might be different from somebody else's child, but I just want everybody to know they have somewhere to be and somewhere to go. If it saves one child, then I think that we've all done our job.
We surround them with these incredible mentors, and that's when we start releasing their essence. And that's where every time you have an opportunity to stretch them and bring that out even further, they turn around and go, wow, did I just do that? Yes, and you did it really well.
For me, the conservatory unleashed a whole new person. Something about me clicks in my soul, mind, and heart. It's like a new presence is involved. I call it euphoria, the extreme state of happiness. And that's what I find when I'm here.
It was nerve-wracking playing with people way above my level. Talk about putting your feet in cold water. It was crazy. But coming out of that experience, I learned so much, and I'm glad I did.
I became this completely different person that didn't know that was inside of me, and it just brought it out.
Once they leave, they still call or text any time of the day or night. And my phone rang, and I went downstairs because it was very late. And I'll never forget that, because that was the first time that someone called, now I'm gonna get emotional, and he said, guess what? I said, are you okay? And he said, guess what? I got my first Broadway show. And now he's a Tony Award winner. And that's, and he still comes back and teaches, which is it's like everything you ever would want. If every community on the entire globe had a place that was for children, that afforded creativity, community, collaboration, and culture, the world would be a completely different place. for us. I hate that I cry in that. I still cry. He still comes home. You'll see him again. I did fail to mention one very important community program, and you saw a little bit of it there. It's called A Positive Note, and it's for young adults. Let's see, our youngest student right now in Positive Note is 13 till about 26, young people with special needs. And they come on Saturdays. We also have a program with Fountain Fort Carson where their 12th grade transition kiddos come to the conservatory once a week. If you are a family that has a young person with special needs or has a family member with special needs, it's an incredibly joyful experience. In fact, I would invite you all, this Saturday they have their semester end concert at the conservatory, and if you want a true taste of happiness, come and watch that. And the program's at what time, David?
Yeah, 11:30.
11:30 at the conservatory on Saturday, if you'd like to come as our guests. It's just open to the public. So CSC is unique, and I'm here to tell you, not because I think we're so great, but as I travel the nation and around the world, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. There's music programs and there's theater programs, but here's the differentiating factors, and here's where we have cities now coming to us and saying, how do you do that? We serve such a broad swath of our community and our region, and that we get those consistent results, and we keep the kids forward facing. Even if you're a recording arts kid and you just assume be in that sound booth all day long, we're going to figure out a way for you to be out in the community. And you'll be shocked at how creative we can get. It can be an event where, you know, you walk in, there's some really cool music playing, and then suddenly somebody says, and that's the music of recording arts student, Joey at the conservatory. So again, we just try to keep those kids out there and knowing that they have something to offer the world. And that's really important. I will tell you that we're also becoming a place where folks are understanding what's best practices. How do you deliver curriculum? How do you deliver rigorous curriculum to kids that, sometimes you want to think they could care less, right, you guys? But you find relevance, and how do we do that? Again, we've got cities like Tulsa coming and asking, how do you have such a rich diversity and everyone is understanding classical, jazz, opera, musical theater? It's pretty great. And we've got a lot of things coming up that you can take a look at. We're also on the radar for some countries on the other side of the world. So that's pretty cool too, because at the end of the day, everyone's trying to figure out, and we'll talk more about this in a little while, what's going on with our kids. I mean, how many of you feel that way sometimes? Like, what's happening, right, Amelia? You like, they're in front of the phones constantly. They're not talking. They're not talking to each other. So here you have an ecosystem. We don't allow phones. You have an ecosystem where they're forced to communicate, that they feel like they belong. They have 70+ mentors that care about them. It's really different. It's really different than school. And I'll probably get some of that from the kids in a little bit here. But there's a lot of what we call protective factors that are inherent in our program. So I mentioned it in the video, but I would just ask for a moment that you pull out this document. It says Seat of the Sixth Power. And just a little handout here. Because about 4 years ago, it became evident that folks were going to be asking us what makes us so different, or how could this exist in other cities? And I say, well, if you have these 6 things, and you have incredible people that believe in the future of young people, then this is what you can do. But those 6 things are, first and foremost, children, community, culture, creativity, collaboration, and context. And what is context? Context is history. I think like we're erasing history every day. So if you give a kid a gig at the corner of Colorado and Cascade for the kickoff of our sesquicentennial alongside the mayor who is in costume, and the kids go, "What's a sesquicentennial?" And then suddenly you go on this incredible journey about the history of your own community. And prior to that, they might not have known anything. But how cool is it that you're performing an historic piece at the kickoff of your city's sesquicentennial alongside the mayor. And the mayor comes over after and says, "Thanks, guys," and shakes all of your hands. Like, that's pretty cool. But chances are they might not have known it was the city's sesquicentennial. But those are the kind of things that allow us to teach the kids context. And we know that with all 6 of those things, we are able to create contributing, creative citizens. And so what I'd like to do is first introduce 2 of our younger students, Jaden and Lizzie. And we'll start with Lizzie. Lizzie, do you want to start? Now Lizzie, how old are you?
I'm 12 years old.
12 years old. Do you want to put, David, will you help put her music on the stand? Come on up here, Lizzie, and say a few words. Come on up here. So this is Lizzie. Big round of applause for Lizzie! All right, so tell everyone how old you are.
I'm 12 years old.
And where do you go to school?
I go to school up in Monument at Lewis Palmer Middle School.
Lewis Palmer Middle School. And what do you want to be when you grow up?
An actor.
An actor. Okay, so Lizzie's going to sing a song that, how many of you guys know who Ariel is? Yeah? See, all the moms do. Yeah, I want to be Ariel. All right, so introduce your piece.
So I'm going to be singing part of Your World from Walt Disney's The Little Mermaid.
Do you want me to turn pages?
Sure. Will you hit the snare? Hit the snare, please. Thank you, Lizzie. Did you take a bow? So can I I always love doing this because everybody always hears the kids perform, but they never get to hear them speak. And so she doesn't know I'm going to ask her this, but if there was one thing that you learn at the conservatory that folks might not know that you learn, besides your music, what would that be?
Right now in my theater class, we're learning how to write plays, and that's pretty cool.
Okay, we're writing plays. And what do you learn about yourself that you didn't know?
I don't know, like, I guess what I like to do, I never thought I would be an actor. I always thought I'd be a dancer, but after doing summer camps, I've become a full student and I really enjoy it.
Okay, good. Thanks, Lizzie. Thank you. I know, she's so cute. Jaden, come on up. So Lizzie came to us through summer camps, and we have a lot of summer programming. Jaden, how old are you now?
10.
10, come on over here. Jaden's papa made your dinner tonight. I know, right? So Jaden was a student in Head Start, Charisse. And what we do with the Head Start students and mentors, and with the team from Head Start, is we sit down at the end of the semester and say, were there kids that you saw might really flourish here? So it wasn't about, oh, this kid's really talented. We just saw something, and we say, well, let's get them in the after-school program, because once they go into kindergarten, then Noreen can't track them down, and so we try to get them into the after-school program when they're 5. And that's how Jaden came to us. So he was here with us when he was 3 and 4. He came in Head Start, and now he's 10. So we've been friends half my lifetime. Yeah. So do you want to introduce your piece?
Sure.
Okay, smile, smile, get out.
Hello, my name is Jaden Davis, and I'll be singing Going Home.
Okay. Smile. Okay, hold on. So if there was one thing that you would want to share with people besides your music, by the way, that was a piece by Dvorak. So that was it's a 19th century composer, a little art song. I know, are you guys here to listen to Jaden? Didn't he do a good job? Thanks. So there's one thing that you would want them to know that you're learning at the conservatory besides your music. What would that be?
That I also like to play basketball.
Okay, so you can do it all, right? You're that guy. And he's also a black belt, we might add. So you definitely want to be on Jaden's team, okay? All right, thanks, Jaden. Thank you very much. So, as I mentioned, when we talk about children, when we talk about Seed of the Sixth Power, we have programs birth through 18. In our early childhood programs, we are adamant in incorporating literacy, understanding what kind of early intervention and the impact of music studies on their brain development, and that's our Piccolo program. Our special education program, the Positive Note, again, really trying to bring music and accomplishing anything to those that might not necessarily always have access. And really understanding the interests of each and every child, and really understanding the dynamic of where they come from as well. Now the second C is creativity. Every child, it's always been part of our mission. Our mission is to motivate, challenge, and inspire students to their highest potential, both as human beings and artists, through arts immersion studies and community arts advocacy. So when we talk about creativity, you can't be wrong. So every child is asked to create. And when they're really young, they listen to classical music. We start at 2 minutes. If they get to 2 minutes, it's a really good day. Imagine like 18 3-year-olds laying really still, listening to Aaron Copland, and then they quietly get up and they draw what they heard. Somewhere around 8 or 9, if they're not taught to do that, they stop. They say, I can't. That just keeps transferring down the road, right? So we try to keep that ability to imagine, to hear things differently, to expand on what you hear, and then to share it. So even when they're 3, they get up and they say, hello, my name is Dylan, and when I listened to the music, I heard, and they tell everyone what they heard. So it's actually quite extraordinary. And then that evolves to what you just saw. So when Jaden was in Head Start, he drew a lot of amazing pictures. And there's a lot of Head Start kiddos that are in the after-school program. But no one can get away with not creating at the Conservatory. One of the most beautiful performances we have coming up, and it's on your sheet, you'll see the flyer as we go through those. It's called Beautiful Chaos. And that's at Stargazers every year. This year it's in February. But imagine, if you will, that Conservatory students create compositions. Okay, they lay them down on, well, they used to be CDs. Now they're in an MP3 or a SoundCloud, or I don't know. I have a whole team that does that now. But they create them, then we send them to various dance studios. And those young people at the dance studios hear the music, they pick what speaks to them, and then they choreograph it. Then we perform it live at Stargazers. If you ever think the world is coming to an end, come to a Beautiful Chaos concert, because you'll go, oh, we're in fine shape. Because those kids, what they create is so brilliant. And we have promised ourselves, it's a Conservatory or Mayo Dance, Ballet Society, Revolution Dance. There's a couple others. There's a beautiful teacher up at Liberty High School that has all her students participate. We don't touch a thing. So the students have to choreograph it. It's like the dance, how many of you study dance, or how many of you have danced? It's one thing to imagine, right? But it's another thing then to actually make someone do what you're imagining. So therein lies the challenge. But you have, it's a beautiful thing when you have maybe a 7-year-old performing live and 14 teenage girls dancing to your music. And I say to them, I want you to land in a city, and I want you to know that you can create this yourselves. You can do this anywhere, anywhere. So again, empowering them, putting them in front, teaching them to collaborate, which is one of our other C's. But right now, I'd like to bring up, as we talk about community, which is the next one, you heard about our partners. So we have our education partners out in the community. We have our civic partners. There's no civic organization that we don't work with. So if the county commissioners call us the night before and they say, we need you to come sing the national anthem at 7:30 in the morning at the county commissioners, darn right we're going to be there. or City Hall. So it doesn't matter if it's Tessa, CASA, the Humane Society, the zoo. We are there for our community. And sometimes it's creating something really specific. Like one year, the Humane Society, you guys can get in place for Route 66. The Humane Society asked us one time to write a 12-minute piece about an animal's journey from the street to the shelter to adoption or not. And the goal was to make sure that everyone was crying and that everyone would donate lots of money. Sounds like we get that. So I took about 6 high school kids with me on a journey for a week, and we had complete access to the Humane Society so that they could write the story. So one day we were in the receiving area and we saw soldiers come in with their dogs. We saw little girls have to give up their kittens because their new baby sister is allergic to cats. We saw everything. Then we got to see the doctors. Then we got to see the adoption. At the end of the day, they learned that pit bulls and black cats are 2 critters that nobody wants. So the play ended with this incredible duet between this pit bull and this cat. And it was very sad, but they raised a lot of money. But what did the kids learn? That there's 7,000 volunteers at the Humane Society. They learned that animals have to go to jail sometimes. They got to see animals in jail. They learned that behind those windows, it's really loud. We wrote a song called Use Your Inside Voice. It was hilarious. Because when we got behind those glass, you've been to the Humane Society, right? Yeah, you go behind the glass, it is really loud. But those were things that otherwise they would not have learned, right? So those are all ways that we give back to our community and we expose students to their community. We perform at Rotary Club, Sertoma, you name it, Parents Challenge. So without any further ado, I'd like to let the students first introduce themselves, all right?
Do you want me to stand here?
Yep, and you, tell me your name and how old you are and where you go to school.
Okay, I'm Marissa Mitchell, I'm 17, and I go to James Irwin Charter High School.
Okay.
My name is Cole, I'm 18, and I go to Coronado High School.
My name is James, I'm 17, I go to Palmer High School.
My name is Eden, I'm 14, and I go to Manitou Junior High.
Okay, so these are all kids from the after-school program. And David is an alumni, as I mentioned, but now he's a mentor. And David is in his 20s now, so I've known him most of his life. So they're going to do a tune here, and it'll knock you out. I'm so excited for you to hear it. Hello. You know what?
Do you want us to pick solos or anything?
And maybe one solo. Cool. You know what? We've got to put Gabriel in.
Conservatory. We have
I forgot to put Gabriel, so I'll put Gabriel in here.
really interested in, so we have to split it up. So, and we are going to be performing Route 66.
You'll be next, okay? Right here. Just get everybody clapping. what you have to know is that literally when Cole got here, I said, can you guys just do Route 66? And they're like, yeah. Right? What a great life skill, right? Can you just create this report? Yes. Right? So I'm just going to ask you guys, if there's one thing that you want to share with everyone besides your music, great job, that you would want them to know that you've learned as a young person about yourself or about something that you can do, what would that be?
I would say, so I came here like 4 years ago when I was a freshman, and like the idea of just like, even just like talking in front of people like terrified me, but now I could just do it no problem. And it's just because like at the conservatory they just like kind of really push you to really be your best and to perform, and after a while you just kind of just, I mean, you still like get a little like the anticipation of performing, but like you don't like, I don't feel like I'm going to pass out when I'm in front of people anymore, so I think that's a really good thing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, something I learned.
Keep that still by your mouth, yeah, so people can hear you. Yep, by your mouth, yeah.
Well, I never really realized how big of an arts community there is in Colorado Springs, and I don't know, I just have learned that throughout my music journey for the rest of my life, I'll never be lonely because of how big of a family it is when it comes to the arts here. So.
Aw, that was nice.
I would say that when you're living your best life, you need to take advantage of every opportunity anyone gives you, like ever. Because you never know when you could be performing at Stargazers or playing a little gig at a restaurant. You never know when life will throw you a curveball, and you gotta take it, and you gotta make it the best it can be.
I know, right?
I think one of the most important lessons one of the most important lessons I've learned here is confidence. An example of how not confident I have been previously was that there was one gig where Linda told me if I smiled through the whole song, she'd give me $1, and I didn't get the $1. I just learned how important it is to make big, fat, hairy mistakes, as Linda says, because like the mistakes are how you grow, and the more you put yourself out there, that's how you meet your posse. That's how you become the best version of yourself you can and live your best life by going out there.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you, Linda.
No, thank you. That's actually kind of a standing joke. I always say, if you do this, I'll give you $1. And then like, I was like, you know what, put it on my tab. So I say, there's going to be a waiting line at my memorial service. All right, I would like for David, someone who grew up here and is now teaching, to say one thing that he learned over the years.
Well, you know, I'd like to echo a little bit of what Cole said and just say that we have a profound music and arts community in Colorado Springs, and to be a part of that is such a privilege. And you know, when you're a young person and you're growing up as an artist, people often tell you that you're not going to be able to have a career unless you move to a city like New York or LA, and we know that's just not true. There are many great musicians working in Colorado Springs, in Denver, and it's the case that if you know where to look, like Cole said, you're never going to be lonely. You're always going to find that community. And so that was something that was really important to me growing up, and you know, helped me make the decision to come to Colorado Springs to ultimately work.
Thank you, David. I will say that David is now, he's at the tavern at the Broadmoor. Ken Miller hired him to play the guitar in the tavern orchestra. It's like, Linda, this kid David, he's awesome. So how cool is that? And what's fun is he took the place of one of my very first jazz teachers at the Conservatory. So it's profound. It is a great community. So thank you guys. When we talk about the next C is culture, and I'm not talking about the Nutcracker or Tchaikovsky. I'm talking about the culture of our city, of our region. And when I think about when I started the school 26 years ago and people are like, oh, Linda, it's Colorado Springs, come on. It's military. Like, yeah, so? some of the best musicians in the world are playing and performing in those military bands and orchestras. And a lot of them retire here, or they say, you know, it's very this side or the other side. But you know what? Every community has their own culture. And how great is it that we have an ecosystem like the Conservatory where young people are out there in front of their community and they're learning that everyone can get along, that everyone is part of the community, and that we are all intrinsically part of the culture of Colorado Springs. That's really important part of what we believe in. Now, what I'd like to do is have Gabriel come up. Come on up, Gabriel, and you guys can take a seat for a moment. We also talk about collaboration. Oh wait, no, I'm just going to leave it there at culture because I'm going to talk about collaboration. So this is Gabriel Weber, and he is an outstanding young man, and he started in the 6th grade. Miss Deborah, I think you were still at the school board, but Gabriel was one of those kids on the bus from Panorama, and we identified him early on as a kid who really just would probably flourish here if we got him into the after-school program, because we could not pull him away from the piano. And so I asked Gabriel to come. His grandpa's here and drove him over, but I'm going to ask you, how old are you?
I'm 17.
And where do you go to school?
I go to school at Sierra High School. It's
Okay.
right behind here.
He goes right behind here.
Yeah.
So if there was one thing that you would want people to know that you learned besides what you're going to show them you learn, what would that be? Here, you can take the mic.
That would have to be
Put it really close.
opportunity. Because when I first started at the Conservatory, I only thought it was like a piano school, just do piano. But as I began to grow and get into the program, I realized that it's more than just a piano school. There's so many arts and opportunities I can get into, like giving back to the community, because the community gives to us. And I was always taught to give back and share them what I have learned, which is really great.
Thank you. I love telling a story that Christine O'Brien, who's the communications director at Harrison High School, walked in this school one day and said, "Guess what?" And I said, "What?" She says, "I walked into Harrison High School choir room, and guess who's accompanying the choir?" I said, "Who?" She said, "Gabriel Weber." So how great is that to have that gig when you're in the 9th grade? So will you introduce the piece that you're going to play?
Yeah. I'm going to be playing Sonnet in A minor by Benda.
Here, I'll hold that. Thank you. You guys did a great job. Thank you. How about if we finish with you guys, you and Cole, okay? There's still time. Nice. That was great. That was great. Thank you. Thank you. The next C that we believe strongly in is that the ability to collaborate. And I think in this world where more and more people are separating themselves, yet they think they're connected, the ability to collaborate is very slowly dwindling. And so one of the, you just saw a beautiful example of it. In that, we turned to them and said, can you guys just play Route 66? And they said, sure. That's what we do. So I've asked David and Cole to collaborate for you all. And this is typical. Students get to perform with mentors all the time. And at first it's really scary because your teachers are really good. But you know what? It forces you to practice that much harder. So, David, what are you going to play?
We're going to be playing a tune by the great jazz guitarist Wes Montgomery. The song's called 4 on 6.
Thank you. So collaboration is really important, and it's a great life skill. The last thing that we like to talk about is context, and that's whether you're learning a piece and picking it up and learning about the composer or the poet or the story. Everyone knows Les Mis, but do they know when it was actually written and who the author was, and that the book is actually this thick? They're like, whoa. So again, those are things that we hope keep them curious and engaged and inspired to learn more and share more. One of the things that when we talk about context, and we as parents and we as community members deal with all the time now, when we talk about context, is just for a moment, go with me here. As Heather calls it, we're in social crisis. A few years back, our nation started experiencing teen suicide at a rate that no one could believe. And El Paso County, 3 years ago, was #1 in the nation. And if you recall, there was a period of time in the spring when think there were 15 young people across our county that took their lives within a month. And what was crazy for us was we had kids from every single one of those schools. So they would come in after school and share their sadness, their frustration. And suddenly the conservatory was put in a frame that we never thought we'd find ourselves in. And thanks to our partners at the county, Department of Public Health and Health and Human Services, they said, kids from the conservatory seem to be confident, they seem to be resilient, they seem to be able to connect. So what's happening at the conservatory that's different? So we went on this journey with our partners at El Paso County, and we're still on this journey with the Colorado Springs Health Foundation and the city. And now, in December, we'll be having this conversation at the state level as a model organization that has these tenets of engagement, they're called, that help children build those protective factors of resilience, social connectedness, empathy, and that you have an ecosystem, and you heard, of caring mentors outside of the home where you and I, as parents, know where they're at, and you know that they're learning how to thrive. So we wanted to share a little bit, do you mind, Heather, around our work with that. We wrote a musical called Jack, a moral musical tale. We wrote it, and our friends at the county came to see it. I wrote it because I had a lot of adolescent boys, and I needed to create a show that had a lot of little boys in it. So this is a story of a little boy who's a bully, and he gets expelled from school, and his name is Jack, and he gets sent home, gets sent to his room, and he proceeds to dream a dream where all the Jacks in literary history come to try to teach him to make better choices. Jack Be Nimble, Jack Sprat, Jack and the Beanstalk, Jack-o'-lantern, Stingy Jack, which you don't really hear a whole lot about, Jack and Jill. So what happened was extraordinary. Right after the first year we did it, the county came and said, what was that like as a teaching tool? And we were like, well, like for what? They were like, how do you react against bullying? How do you stay confident? How do you stay resilient? Then they asked us to do it again and incorporate kids that had never had a conservatory experience, and that we were going to go on a journey of measuring the impact, social, emotional, wellness impact on those young people, 4th and 5th graders specifically, after experiencing the conservatory and then yet another round of this musical Jack. So what we have here are just a couple of videos that we'd like to share with you about Jack.
Should behave, how your life turned out. Mom and Daddy should say your best. I want to smash everything I've ever had. I'll show you, Mom. I'll show you, Dad. I'll show you, Mom. I'll show you, Dad. I'll show you, Mom. I'll show you, Dad. There's good in every day you have, though the views won't be the same. And I'm still learning how to listen, how to grow, and how to change. a challenge is set. Oh, you can bet I'll try it. A life learning skill brings a plenty of thrill. Oh, it's the deals with the devil, the deals that you've made that have made your life suck, a life no one will save. Oh, I wish I could take it all back, but it's too late now. Yes, it's too late now. Oh, poor, poor Jack. Keep your eye on the pie when your life gets overwhelming. Keep it sweet and you'll meet your goals. The ingredients of life should never be too bitter, and some kindness, and some kindness. Give sight to the blinded souls.
That was Heather, and she spoke specifically to one of the pieces that the county asked us to create. They asked us to go out and reach 10,000 school children, specifically, again, 4th and 5th graders, and they wanted to see what happens when kids talk to kids. And it was very impactful, and I think we were able to show that there was a lot more sharing that was able to occur when it was peer-to-peer. So now we have another piece that kind of shares a little bit more about the story and the folks that were part of it. Now, just a little bit of the backstory. When we did it the second time, Josh, who was in that first video when I said it was in his first Broadway show, he came back to direct it. He helped me rewrite it a little bit, added some characters and some songs, and then he directed it. He also then, yeah, I think so. No, it's the one with me at the very beginning. That's okay. He also brought 3 of his rock star Broadway friends, which was so much fun for the kids. One young man who you'll hear speak in this had just finished 10 years. He was in the original cast of Book of Mormon. And he's now a father of a 2-year-old. And he fell in love with the project, and we're proud to say that he is still. So little did we know that as an arts organization we would now be on this this path of being part of a solution that we all face to any degree. We're all in this together. And I think what I can say to parents in the room is that when a young person's at the conservatory, they are surrounded by folks, and you heard it, that are pushing them to be more than they think they can be. They're teaching them to make big, fat, hairy mistakes, and that's okay. You're going to survive that. And that you're teaching them to contribute in their community. And that's something that stays with them for a long, long time. So if they turn to us and say, I want to be a veterinarian, I want to go study political science, we're like, great. And take all those things that you just learned and stay in touch with all your friends, and the world is going to be a much, much better place. So that's who we are. That's what we do. I'd like to bring the kids back up here because I'd like to see if any of you have any questions for any of us. Come on up, guys, all of you. Come on up. Then we'll have one big, okay, here we go.
I'm curious about how much time you guys put in to your music or your singing or your art in a day or in a week, because you guys are so incredibly talented. It looks like that's all you do all day, every day. But I have a feeling you have other things going on too.
Okay, who would like to answer? Well, so the question was, how much time do you put in? Who wants to answer? Cole's. I had a feeling it would be Cole. All day, all night.
So it gets to a point where you fall in love with whatever passion you have so much that it becomes like your life. And to answer your question, I know it's probably different for all of us, but like all the time. So it's like when I'm not playing music, I'm thinking about playing music. So.
Yeah. Eden, you want to answer it?
Oh, the bass child. Well, I think all of us right here, and are you in the company? Okay, well, in the company program, we come like 10 plus hours a week. So I come 4 days a week, and I think they come 4 or 5 days a week. And in core, you're here about 6 hours a week. So it's like, it's a lot. But it's like you love it so much, so you want it to be a lot. I want to come 5 days a week, but my mom won't let me. So.
But the other thing that comes out of that is how do you manage to do all of your, and none of them answered this question, and usually you hear it once, but when I say what's one thing that you learn, they learn how to manage their time. Because they have to keep good grades. I mean, and if they slip, one of us shows up at your school and says, what can we do to help advocate? And we care deeply about making sure that they're successful. So they do it a lot. They do it a lot. I was one of those kids. And what's fun to hear Eden, because Eden's one of those kids that literally everything you hand to her, she just like can do. So the minute she gets a new toy, she's off in the corner practicing it, and then the next thing you know, she's performing on it. And so thank goodness she found us, right? Her family found us. Anybody have any other questions for the kids or myself? Yes. Let me come over here. Thank you.
I was wondering how many different instruments or artists did you guys go through before you found the one that you practiced the most?
Great question. So how many instruments did you go through before you found the one? They all play a number. Here you go, Marissa.
Oh, hi. Oh, okay. So I started off in like music classes when I was like a toddler, kinder music, and you were just playing like little toddlery things, and then I took some piano lessons, but it didn't like quite like click. I was just like, yeah, piano, this is a note, cool, touch this, boom, sound. And it wasn't like, oh, this is music. It was just like whatever. And then I started playing in band in like 6th grade. I played the euphonium or the baritone. I don't know which one I played, but I played one of those two. And then when I was like in 8th grade, I was like, I don't want to play the euphonium anymore. And then I was like, trumpets are cool. So then I picked that up. And then, so once I joined the conservatory, I had already known I played the trumpet, but I actually came into the conservatory studying voice because people had told me I had a pretty good voice, but I was like, I don't want to sing in front of people, that's scary. But then I was just like, you know what, why not just try it? And that's pretty much how I got to that point, and I've just been, so trumpet and voice are my main instruments, and those are just, those are the ones I love the most.
I've been watching videos of Santana and Jimi Hendrix shredding at Woodstock since I can remember, so it's been guitar my whole life, so.
I first started out in middle school. I sung in choir in 6th grade, which was a different experience than I had wanted. So I decided to join band in 7th grade. I played trumpet, and I eventually ended up playing in the same band as Marissa.
We went to the same school.
We went to the same school, then I moved. But I came to the conservatory studying trumpet. And after me and Marissa performed at Stargazers one time, everyone was like, why aren't you in voice lessons? So I started voice lessons, and now I want to major in jazz voice with a trumpet emphasis.
I started in 4th grade. I wanted to play the saxophone, and my mom's like, let's do something quieter. So we went to the violin, which, to a degree is quieter. And I really clicked with the violin, and that's where I played. I still play it, just not as much. I played it through 6th grade, but I remember when I turned 10, for Christmas, I put on my list like a guitar. I had a feeling I would not get a guitar, but like I got one. So because I guess my grandparents were like, oh, that's really nice. So they got me like a $50 nylon string guitar, and I just played random notes on it and did like these little scales and stuff, and I just really clicked with it. So guitar is one of my main instruments I practice, but with bass, that's a funny story. I was in 6th grade, and like as you know, I played violin, and everybody wants to play violin in orchestra. So there were no bassists, like 14 kids. All of them were like on violin, but like nobody wanted bass. So he goes up to me, my teacher, and says, like, since you've been playing violin for a while, would you be interested in playing bass for a couple songs? And I was like, okay, because I like jazz, so like, why not? And here I am. That's my bass back there, and I'm still playing it. I did not think I'd still playing it, but I am. So yeah, guitar and bass are my main instruments.
At school, I started in an orchestra, and I played violin. And then I did not like it. I was not a fan. And so I tried ukulele, and I love it. It's easy and it's just fun to do. And now that I'm here, I've started piano, and I love it. And my piano teacher is like really smart, and she's really nice. And a few weekends ago, she gave me 2 songs to do, and I wanted to do so much more, so I was just looking it up, and I think I just fell in love with piano.
Well, for me, I've always been interested in the piano because my family, my grandpa, my mom, they all play the piano. So in elementary school, I asked them to sign me up for piano lessons. But we never got a chance to get to that because they cost too much money. So when I started middle school in 6th grade, we found an opportunity to start the conservatory, which is where I am now. And I've always stuck with piano. That's what I've always wanted to do.
I started on the violin, and then I moved to the piano, and I didn't really like that, so I went to the drums, and that pretty much now. So.
Thank you. Thanks for that. That's a great question, and it's pretty varied. You should know part of the core curriculum, everyone at the conservatory studies piano. We have a beautiful piano lab. So no matter what your instrument is, or where you want to play, if it's the drums, because a lot of parents walk in and say, I want my kid to start with piano, and the kid's like, I just want to play the drums. And the beauty is you're going to get piano no matter what, and then you can go downstairs and make as much happy noise on the drums as possible. Right? Amelia's like, yep. So, I think we're about out of time, right? So again, thank you. We're more than happy to continue to answer questions. Come over on Saturday and see Positive Note. You see there's flyers for all of the programs. You've got Positive Note in here. You have our baby program, the Piccolo. If you're interested in just trying out a class, just call us. You've got our Tiny Tremolo class, which is the Saturday pre-K. You've got the Citizen Soldier. You've got a lot of folders in here, or a lot of flyers in here. I would also just say that if you want to come to this next jazz night, normally we're downtown at the Gold Room, but this time in December, the first Friday, we're at Almagre, which is a great new venue on North Academy. Yeah, Mundy Ross's place. Her husband is Axe and Oak, so they know how to open venues. And they're young professionals, super creative, and she's hosting us again that first Friday. If you'd like to come, call the conservatory and let them know that you're a parent challenge participant. And we'll be more than happy to leave a ticket at the door for you as our guest. And because honestly, you are a tremendous audience. So thank you so much. And if we don't see you, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Thank you. Thank you.